Before we begin today's episode, we feel that it is best that we address the elephant in the room. On November 12th, 2008, a man named Stanley Martin Lieber, aka Stan Lee, passed away at the age of 95.
While Stan may not have created comics, he did redefine them and the stories and the issues that they tackled. Many of the darkest, most thought-provoking stories, both from Marvel and DC Comics, are in part due to Stan Lee rewriting the rule book of what comics were allowed to do.
Together with fellow writers and artists Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, Stan Lee co-created many of today's most iconic heroes. He is responsible for characters like Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, and countless more characters that are loved by both kids and adults of all ages. Without Stan Lee, none of these amazing characters would exist.
The stories, characters, and worlds he told through his work have left a lasting impact on the public, whether it was through the pages of a comic book or through the television and movie screens. The stories of heroes and villains and good overcoming impossible odds against evil has always resonated with the people throughout history and continues to do so to this day.
And now, we shall honor this great man with a 10-bell salute. We ask for a moment of silence as we honor the late, great Stan Lee. Thanks again for everything, Stan. Sincerely, your faithful true believers. Excelsior! All right. So, this has been a long time coming, but a few months ago, like during the holiday season, a new Spider-Man game came out for the PS4. And we've been trying to get this topic out of the way for quite some time, but there's been like a lot of issues that have kept going on and like things keep coming up. But we're finally able to talk to it today, thankfully. So anyways.
Wait, talk to it?
Oh, talk about it. Forgive me.
So, we've got the game here in the podcast room with us, and we're going to interview it. Tell us your thoughts on the game, Spider-Man.
Anyways,
I never thought about it that way.
You know me as your host, Mark Palmer, so I want to introduce everyone out of the way. So starting with the skunk lip jabroni.
Oh, you mean the skunk stash? Yes, that is what I'm most notably known for. Or you can just call me Jersey, either way.
Nathaniel, not me. I've been on a bunch of these shows for a while.
Just Spider's fine. Shadow Spider, whatever. I don't care. I'm not picky.
All right.
Okay, Brian.
So we're not.
Who is this Brian you speak of? I know not this name.
So, anyways, usually before we begin, we usually talk about how we got into certain stuff, but we're not gonna do that because, like, most of us here grew up mostly with the '90s Spider-Man cartoon and the Sam Raimi movies. So,
Shocker!
Oh, God.
You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
Oh, God. It sounds like he took some cues from you, Jersey. All right. So we're going to go right into the plot of the game. So anyways, the game takes place with... It's not like based off of any comics. It is based off of Spider-Man's story, but he's already an established character, so we already know his backstory. And it begins with, I believe...
It begins with Peter being broke. What else is new?
Anyways, I believe it begins... Isn't it a flashback?
No.
Oh.
It doesn't begin with the flashback.
It begins with Peter getting a call from his friend in the police
Yuri
office,
Watanabe.
Yuri Watanabe.
Yuri, that they're taking down
The Kingpin.
The Kingpin.
Well, no. No, he didn't get a call from Yuri. It was the police radio that he
Oh,
tapped
that's
into.
right. And then he called Yuri on the way.
So the game begins with Spider-Man trying to take down the Kingpin, and why exactly was he trying to take him down again? Because he
Well,
was
'cause
trying.
he's-
It was 8 years in the making.
Yeah, he's the leader of organized crime. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you take him down?
Yeah, exactly.
And
I
like I,
thought,
said,
like,
he
he
had
was
spent years
building his criminal empire.
trying to. No, Spider-Man had spent years trying to bring Kingpin down, and this is the moment.
Yeah, and well, I wasn't with you guys when you played the first half of the game, but anyways, I do know when Jersey was fighting Kingpin.
Oh yes,
he was,
I remember it was a glorious.
Oh, yeah.
no, you were screaming like a little bitch.
Hey,
He's
you were
freaking
dead.
out.
You were dead.
I'm gonna die! I'm gonna die! I'm gonna die! Oh god! Oh god! Oh god!
Damn it! But hey, I won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Barely.
anyways, Kingpin in the game is kind of cannon fodder though, because
He really is.
yeah, because
He
like
is supposed to introduce another enemy
yeah,
type in the game.
the brutes.
Yeah.
But Kingpin has brutes too, doesn't he? When you fight his goons?
During that fight, no.
No,
I
not
thought he
during that
did.
Fight. No.
No.
Oh. So Kingpin was like the startup for the brutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, Spider-Man takes down the Kingpin. He goes to jail and he says, "Oh, I'll be out in 3 months tops. Calling it now or whatever." And so
Well, he also says this city will fall apart into a gang war without me.
yeah.
Yeah.
And anyways, so he takes down the Kingpin, and what happens now? Isn't Peter like going to like his new job where he's like an assistant for Otto Octavius?
Yes.
Yeah, he goes to see Otto where he's a lab assistant.
Yeah.
Again.
I
And,
gotta admit, like, what I did like about the beginning when they introduce Otto is like you get that sense of foreshadowing because of the machine he's hooked up to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know.
Like, you know exactly what's going to happen, but you just like, okay, let's see where this goes. And where it goes, it really, really hits home.
I mean, throughout this, we're probably going to have to, bring up parallels between this game and other media because this is not the first Spider-Man thing to do this whole idea of Peter being, Ock being a mentor to Peter.
Yeah.
This was done in the second Sam Raimi movie, and honestly, it's done.
And a little bit in the '90s animated show too, because
Yeah,
didn't
that's
he
true.
go to some science camp?
Yeah.
Yes.
But like it's done much better here, and obviously a big part of that is because it's a game, so they have much longer to do this compressed storytelling. So we get because he's an actual assistant, we get way more time of Peter just being friends with Ock before the eventual downward spiral. We get a much better idea of these two actually have a relationship. It's not they've just met.
Yeah.
Speaking of relationships, weren't Peter and MJ broken up in this game?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were basically on a break because MJ felt Peter was being overprotective.
Yeah.
And apparently in this game, you can play as MJ.
Don't you mean Lois Lane?
Ah,
And
help me, Superman! I mean Spider-Man.
anyways, yeah, so Peter is working with Octavius, and they're working on a project, right?
Yeah, they're working to build better cybernetic prosthetics.
Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, Aunt May is in charge of this homeless facility, and I think he's the president of this company,
He is the founder.
the founder. Oh,
founder.
Martin Lee.
Yeah, Martin
Yeah.
Lee.
And apparently, while that's going on, Norman Osborn is trying to run for mayor.
No, Osborn is mayor.
Oh, I thought he was running for mayor.
No.
He's already mayor?
Yeah, he
Oh,
was
okay.
already mayor in the game.
All right.
I
so-
think he's working on his re-election campaign.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Norman Osborn is working on a re-election campaign, and apparently Martin Lee hates his guts.
Mm-hmm.
So how many Superman parallels are we going to have in this? We've got MJ as Lois Lane. We've got Norman Osborn as Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
What would Ock be?
Metallo.
So anyways, there are like a little bit of side missions you got to do, like clean up the streets of New York, like fight goons off. But
Spider-Man, can you get my
oh
balloon?
god. Don't worry, that doesn't happen, everybody.
It's kind of
But he did make it a point in his mock Twitter profile, whether it's saving the world or rescuing a cat in the tree, I'll be right there.
Oh, speaking of the little Twitter profile, there's a a funny username called Frisky Fisk. And it said, now that Fisk is in jail, how am I going to do my fanfics with him and Spider-Man?
Well, should we bring up the probably the best part of the game?
Oh, I think I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
I demand that you come here and face me like a man.
boy.
Jerry, start the car.
Yep. So J. Jonah Jameson has a podcast in the game, and you get to collect the files and subscribe if you want to. And he's basically Alex Jones
And
in
it
this
is
universe.
hilarious.
Yes, it is.
Every time he pops up, it's always a wonderful treasure to hear what he has to say. I'm half expecting him to go, Spider-Man is dumping chemicals in our water supply that's turning the spiders radioactive!
I think
I'm sorry if the sound breaks in post.
I think the best parts are the parts with Jerry. Like when he tells Jerry to do something
Like, Jerry,
after.
stop crying.
Yeah, I love that one. We will stay here and go down with the ship. Jerry, stop crying.
Oh, boy.
or maybe perhaps Jonah Jameson's secret affectionate feelings for Spider-Man.
It's a sad state when a fully grown man makes a podcast just to talk about Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, what the heck is this
Oh.
world coming to?
Moving on.
Yeah. So, anyways, Spider-Man kind of does his thing. Like, he's with working for Octavius, and then like,
I mean, basically the plot really starts rolling when we get to the Devil's Hand stuff.
yeah.
Yes.
So, anyways, there's like this weird what is it, like a chemical or a toxin or
Yeah, they're basically doing terrorist bombings using chemicals.
yeah. So there's like this gang called what are they called?
Devil's
The
Breath.
Demons.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Demon's
The
Head.
gang's called the Demons, and the chemical they are looking for is called
the Devil's Breath.
nicknamed
Devil's
Breath.
Devil's Breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man has to take those guys down, and
It
meanwhile,
becomes a whole mystery. Is like, okay, who are these devil goons and who are they working
Yeah.
for?
Well, it also basically, like this says, it explodes into this gang war between the demons.
Kingpin's goons.
Yeah, what's left of Kingpin's empire, and later on you get Hammerhead, and it becomes
Yeah.
involved in this whole thing.
But
Hammerhead
we'll talk
becomes
about
in the
Well,
DLC.
we'll talk about Hammerhead later
He's
on.
way late in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think during Norman Osborn's re-election campaign, the demons unleash the bomb, right?
They during
They bombed the re-election
Yeah.
gathering thing.
And
before that though, we are introduced to another character in the story you play as
Miles Morales. Oh yeah, that's right.
And earlier on, before we get to that point in the game, we see Spider-Man actually working with Miles' dad to stop the
Yeah.
demons. They managed to get away with one van full of explosives that they procured from one of Kingpin's shipping docks. And actually,
Is
Miles'
that the
dad-
one where
Miles' dad actually ends up saving Spider-Man.
Yeah, hold on. Is that the part where with the van where like they're about to crash into this crazy dude saying the end of the world is coming?
No.
Oh.
That's,
No, I think that's later.
Oh,
That's
okay.
later.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Well, what about the part where you run after the train and then crash into it?
Oh my god, that was great.
I had seen Maximilian Dude. You guys heard of him? He's a
What,
very
Electro?
big guy. He's a very big guy on Twitch. He plays a lot of fighting games on his channel. But he was playing through Spider-Man, and he's a train coming, and he's like, "Is that a train?" Boom.
No. It was during our playthrough. Basically, since you could web onto things and since you can grab onto the cars, I decided to experiment to see if you could grab onto the train. So there's a train coming, and I'm just like, hug me, brother! Wham!
Spider-Man
Oh my God,
became
that-
fly on the windshield.
Yeah.
doesn't beat to when I was trying to find an item like underneath the subway station and it's like it's already there. Actually, what it was a bird, right? But the bird was still and I couldn't obtain it, so it was this weird glitch. So as I stared into it, it's like wham! I was hit by a train.
So basically, the bird became transparent, and you're trying to get it, and then the train comes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's that's something we need to bring up. There's a lot of side stuff in this game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's just doing menial
Yeah, like-
tasks, meeting other side villains, or just collectibles.
Yeah.
It's
I
really
kid you
the-
not.
I
There's
gotta
a side
deliver
mission-
these pizzas before Mr. Antonio fires me.
Yeah, but all in all, those side missions were quite essential if you wanted to power up, with
Yeah.
gadgets and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah. They were
So-
kind of essential, but
They were
also
kind of
a
tedious
chore.
too.
They were also kind of a chore.
That's something I love. I love the amount of costumes in this game.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
but the costumes you unlock by doing those things are well worth it.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about the best costume.
Oh God! yeah.
Cheers, Mama.
Cheers, moment.
I love that costume. I love
Okay,
that
so
costume.
anyways, there's a costume where it's like
yeah, I'll do it. There is a classic style Spider-Man costume, but it is comic book cell shaded to make it look like it was ripped literally from the comics. And so what you get is this Roger Rabbit-esque Spider-Man running around in this realistic world. And it is insanely hilarious when you have that going during the uber serious moments. Where it's like Spider-Man is like talking to Ock or one of the other characters, trying to make them believe and get them to come back from the dark side, and he looks like a freaking cartoon character.
okay. So back to the story. So yeah, we meet Miles Morales, and isn't it at the part where like he was getting mugged, but Spidey saves him, and Spidey like teaches him
That's-
self-defense?
That's later.
No,
We were
the
talking
first
about
time you meet him is when he's going to Feast because he works there.
We were
Ah,
talking
He
about.
volunteers there.
Okay.
We were talking about the bombing. Miles' dad ends up getting killed from
Yeah.
the bombing, and we find out the mastermind behind the demons
Is
was
Martin Lee.
Martin Lee.
And he's a villain known as Mr. Negative. Like he kind of controls like this negative kinetic energy. Power similar, kind of like Gambit. I don't know.
No, basically his whole thing is that he's able to switch people's morality. He uses
He's
that
able to
effect more.
corrupt people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's able to corrupt people and bring out their darkest inhibitions.
Basically, he's able to kind of do what Apocalypse tends to do to mutants,
Mm,
where he turns them evil and stuff.
yeah.
It's just that's his literal power rather than this thing he does.
Yeah. So
And he actually looks like a negative frame.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
He's a living negative frame.
so you fight him right on the subway train.
Yeah, later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have, there's a lot of stuff going
Yeah,
on.
he's
You
still,
have MJ trying to find her own way to help unravel the mystery. You have Miles trying to cope with the loss of his dad and working at Feast.
And then there's a scene, I think this takes place after you fight him, where MJ and Peter are at a diner, like they're just talking, and then as Peter leaves, you hear an old guy say, I always loved you two together. You were so good.
Yeah, and we get it's
You
our
two always were my favorites.
Yeah, you get your Stan Lee cameo,
Yep.
which is kind of ironic because, in the comics, once they brought Mary Jane in and she became popular, they actually tried their best to push Gwen Stacy more. They tried to make Gwen Stacy more like Mary Jane. They did not latch on to the idea of Mary Jane being Peter's love interest the way the fans do. They very much tried to keep it Gwen for as long as they could, to the point that they kind of altered her personality to make her more like Mary Jane.
Yeah.
That would actually. I brought this up before when we were playing the game together, guys. How would you feel about watching like a Spider-Man cartoon where we're introduced to Gwen Stacy as Peter's girlfriend, and then like like she's introduced at the beginning of the series, and at the end of the season she gets killed, and then we're introduced to Mary Jane at the end of season 2, and it's a balancing act for Peter because he doesn't want to risk losing Mary Jane.
Well, they kind of did that a little bit in Spectacular. They brought in Gwen in season 1, and he gets together with her, and then MJ comes in season 2, and Gwen never dies, but they do a little bit of that storyline where she almost dies to Doc Ock. So they pay homage to that, but she does never die in the show. But they do have the whole Gwen MJ going on at the same time thing. Here's the big problem with Gwen. In the comics, she really didn't have that much of a personality. They never really gave her a personality in the comics. That was why people gravitated toward MJ, because in the comics she was just kind of your typical girl next door, pretty girl next door type thing. There wasn't a lot of personality for her, and so people gravitated toward MJ because it's like she's got this fiery personality, and they love that. What they have done retroactively, though, through Spectacular and through The Amazing Spider-Man, is in both of those they've kind of done this idea of, and I would say a little bit in the I don't know what she's like in the Spider-Gwen comics, but at least in Spectacular and Amazing, both times they had her be a scientist and basically have a lot in common with Peter.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, another cool thing about the game is that like there's these Easter eggs that are related to the Marvel universe, like Avengers Tower, the Sanctum Sanctorum, the Wakandan Embassy, even a business card from Murdoch and Nelson.
Yeah, even the office is there.
Yeah.
And don't forget, Jessica Jones's office building is there too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Anyways, oh yeah.
So we find out that the Devil's Breath was actually created in an Osborn laboratory.
Yeah.
It was created by Osborn, and we get an interesting twist for it at the end. Should we?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Well,
No.
that's the
I'm talking about what it was originally intended
Oh,
for.
Yes.
yeah. It was
Yeah.
intended for a cure for cancer.
Yeah,
It was a cure for cancer and many
it was basically meant to be this.
genetic abnormalities.
It was basically meant to be this miracle cure.
Yeah.
It would be like a cure for Down syndrome, Parkinson's, all that stuff. And then
Basically, the scientific answer is that the problem with it was that it could not be specified to target only specific genes, so instead it would end up breaking down the entire genome. So it's like technically it worked, it's just that it worked too good.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, anyways, after the bombing happens, doesn't Osborn hire Silver Sable to investigate?
Yeah. He hires Sable. He hires the Sable mercenary group
And so, Peter Parker
as like his personal bodyguard and law enforcement.
And so, like, Peter Parker kind of like has Miles go to.
I have one word for Silver Sable: tsundere, 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 tsundere.
Yeah, and so
Don't
like
say that. Don't say that. Now we're gonna have to explain what a tsundere is. You know what? Let's not. Let's let the folks at home go on Urban Dictionary.
Yeah. So, anyways, Peter becomes friends with Miles, and they like volunteer for Feast. And meanwhile, you're doing all these missions. And I think no, that's later. I was gonna say like later on, Yuri Watanabe says like there's like these weird bombings and signals going off, and it's Taskmaster.
Oh yeah, that's another side mission.
That's a side mission.
Yeah.
Let's steer clear of the side
missions.
missions.
Let's stay clear
And
of the
just
side missions.
Yeah.
Run
but
through the plot.
Oh no, we have to address the most annoying side villain in this game. Good idea. It's a good idea. It's a good idea for a villain. However, she becomes the most annoying part of the game in the DLCs.
And I thought Riddler was bad in the Arkham games.
What's hilarious is she's voiced by Artemis from Young Justice.
Maybe you should have like clarified the name of the voice actress.
I forget her actual name, but when I heard her voice, I'm like, I know that voice, and it took me a little bit, but yeah, she is. Her voice actress is the voice of Artemis on Young Justice.
Here's something that'll blow your mind. Doc Ock is voiced by Rigby.
What? Really? From regular show?
He's the raccoon.
No way. Wow. That's awesome.
Well, I mean,
If you don't believe me, you can look it up.
Oh God! Now the only
I can
thing
imagine him
gonna
ham
imagine
boning
is-
with the
with his
tentacles.
tentacles like whoa.
Me too.
hey, I still think a more hilarious thing is Spider-Man himself is voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, a.k.a. Sasuke.
Yep. Mhm. But let's talk about Spider Cop.
Oh, that is a great running joke.
Oh no.
Oh, Spider Cop is best cop. He actually made it in the comics. There was like a whole little Spider-Man universe collision thingy.
Spider-Verse.
and you see the Spider Cop frame in one of the computers, and Miles points like, "What about this guy? He seems like a rough, rugged, take no nonsense kind of guy." And the Spider-Man in this game is like, "Wait, Spider Cop is a real thing? Oh my god, you guys have no idea how happy this makes me."
Okay, so anyways, back to the plot.
And you see him with the
mustache?
with the mustache,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
cap,
Yeah,
and
the
and the aviator glasses.
Oh, that's great.
So back to the plot. After Miles and Peter are introduced and they volunteer for Feast, Parker is still continuing his research with Otto, but it gets shut down by Osborn.
Yeah, basically, Osborn has been after Otto's work because he wants to, basically make money off of it. He knows he can make a shit ton of money off of it, so he's been trying to shut him down actually for a while.
Exactly.
And basically, a lab accident gives him the excuse.
Yeah.
And he said it what and he justified it by saying it wasn't the first time that an accident like this has been reported, and Ock's like, these have been excused by me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost to like flaunt his hold
And so,
over him.
anyways, with that, they get their research from AIM now, and most of you Marvel fans know that AIM is Advanced Idea Mechanics, which is they're a science division, but they're kind of like eco-terrorists, and they're led by MODOK in the comics.
Well, I mean, we gotta kind of.
So, anyways,
So, long story short, the
yeah,
demons actually do get their hands on the Devil's Breath.
yeah,
And I don't know what was going. I have a real big problem with how Silver Sable operates her men, because even Spider-Man remarked saying, I am not down for missiles in New York, because when they were chasing that big giant armored vehicle through the streets, Sable was opening fire on the thing, even though it was carrying a deadly weapon in it.
Well, I mean, we'll get to characterization. Let's kind of finish running through
the plot.
And let's kind of do it fast.
Okay.
Basically, Martin Lee's plan, which he somewhat succeeds in, his plan is he wants the Devil's Breath because he wants to set it off during Norman Osborn's big rally and blame him for it and basically tank his polls and ruin his life, because Norman Osborn ruined his life by using him as a
test subject.
Test subject guinea pig back when he was a child. Basically, for decades, Norman's been running illegal experiments using human guinea pigs to test and get the Devil's Breath formula right. He's been working on this for like good 18 years.
And meanwhile, with Otto, the reason why he wants to create the limbs is technically for himself, because he's got a neuromuscular disease.
Yeah, he's got a genetic abnormality that is affecting his neuromuscular abilities.
It's not genetic. He said it was
from fooling around with radiation.
It was from
his younger reckless days.
chemical exposure. From
Oh, okay,
his
I missed that line.
reckless
I'm
youth.
sorry then.
And
So,
he
yeah.
said, and he makes it a point by saying that this neurological disorder, the deterioration, only affects the muscles. His mind can still work, but his body will eventually just
Collapse.
stop
Yeah.
working.
So, anyways, what happens is that
Yep, I was right. He is Rigby.
I'll look at that later.
Yeah,
Anyways,
so basically, Otto's work gets shut down by Norman. He finds sketchy funding, and then basically, this is something that's done really well throughout the game. Throughout the game, you see as his work keeps getting interrupted and his body kind of gets worse and worse, he starts to lose it. He starts to go crazy because time is running out for him, and he goes to more and more extremes. And when Norman shuts him down, he becomes obsessed with getting revenge on Norman, because it's not the first time Norman has screwed him over. He also screwed him over when the two were partners, when they were just starting out, and Norman bought him out.
I actually like that. I actually like that origin story, and it's an interesting idea into how Oscorp was developed. Because in all these other iterations, it was always started by Osborn. Hence why in the name it's called Oscorp.
Yep.
In this game, however, Otto says that he's half the reason why it's called. Really?
Really?
yeah.
Okay. Otto makes it a point to tell Peter that he's half the reason why it was called
Yeah.
Oscorp. Both he and Norman were both referred to as the O's because they both had O's in their last name.
Yeah.
Hence why add the word corp to it and the name just sells itself.
Yep. So, anyways, after
That's actually a good gimmick.
after Otto gets his metal arms, like you guys said, the neural interface drives him mad, and
It needed
it's-
more work.
It's not so much it drives him mad. It's more that he was already teetering on the edge, and the neural interface just kind of pushes him over it.
yeah.
Exactly. Spider-Man. I mean, Peter even told him that. Oh no, wait. We should have brought up that also earlier on in the game to deepen the friendship between Peter and Otto. Otto sees the Spider-Man suit on Peter's desk.
Yeah, and he's all like,
Yeah, and at first he's like, "Oh, you're Spider-Man's tech guy."
I know, because that's always what happens in the comics. Someone close to the hero finds the super suit and is like, "Oh my gosh, you work on a suit?"
Also, Shocker was in the game. I mean, he was part of the story, but he kind of like served almost no purpose.
He was basically a throwaway villain, which isn't bad. It's fine
He
to
was
have
actually
throwaway villains.
He was actually a good throwaway.
Yeah.
villain, though.
Yeah, it was a good fight.
And speaking of villains, there's a lot of villains in this game. So,
it's the best
meanwhile, there's a prison break at the raft, and
It was after Martin Lee had been arrested,
Yeah.
and Doc Ock
Went
reveals
nuts.
his
Yeah.
actually goes nuts.
yeah, and forms
you
the
look
Sinister
around-
Sits.
If you look around in the lab, you can actually see like blueprints of the raft.
Yeah,
And he says, they just wanted me to, they contracted me to work on improving the security measures in the raft."
Yeah.
So, anyways, you go after the villains, but they beat the shit out of Spider-Man, and then Doc Ock basically tosses Spider-Man aside and unleashes the Devil's Breath in Times Square. And what happens is that Aunt May gets infected.
Well, before that, you fight all the villains because Doc Ock employs them.
Yeah, but then you got to go after them afterwards because like
Man, Aunt May was.
we'll get to her.
that.
We'll get to her. So, anyways, after you do the prison break level and Doc Ock unleashes the Devil's Breath, you got to go after the villains again, because Doc Ock promised them like all these stuff. Like he promised Scorpion a clean record. He promised Rhino to get out of his suit.
He promised to get Rhino out of his suit for him. He promised.
Electro to become pure energy.
Yeah.
What or
And
or
Vulture's
close enough
cancer to
it-
get cured.
To cure Vulture's cancer, yeah.
curing Vulture's cancer. Yeah.
So that's 4 villains. And what did he promise Lee again?
Osborn.
Oh,
Osborn.
all right. And then, anyways, so after that happens, there are levels where, like, before you fight the bad guys, like, you do, like, the MJ Miles Morales levels. But we'll get to those later. But, anyways, this is kind of important, though. After you defeat the villains, you play the final MJ level, and this is very important to the story. You go into Norman Osborn's penthouse and find that there's a journal for Harry. And we find out that he's on vacation, but he's actually...
actually,
No, the
earlier
excuse
on,
is that he's on vacation.
earlier on we keep hearing that
Harry went away to
Harry went away to Europe
Mhm.
and is on vacationing there for an indefinite period of time.
Nothing ever good comes out of Spider-Man
In
and
Europe.
Europe.
Oh, boy.
And it's even mentioned in the side missions where you go through the little Osborn sanctioned research facilities.
But anyway, we find out Harry is not on vacation. He's actually there because he's really, really sick.
Yeah.
He's
He's
actually
got
suffering
some kind
from
of a
the same.
disease.
Yeah.
He's actually suffering from the same disease his mother suffered through, and ended up dying.
Yeah, and...
Oh, God, we're pulling from Amazing Spider-Man 2.
So, anyways, he finds out that the only cure is the Devil's Breath.
Well, no, basically...
Osborn,
Harry has had this condition since he was born because his mom had it, and Osborn has been working on this Devil's Breath thing as a cure for it basically since Harry was a baby.
Yeah.
Probably even beforehand when he figured out his wife had it.
So yeah, it actually by doing this, it introduces a new dynamic to Norman Osborn that we haven't seen.
Yeah, it's interesting, this idea of displaying him as actually caring for Harry for
Yeah.
once.
Yes.
Even though he does have unethical means.
Oh, yeah, he goes about it in the most unethical way possible, but at least this gives a much more believable motive for some of the unethical things that he does.
Which will be interesting to see if he... no, we'll talk about that after that.
All right.
after
So,
that.
anyways,
But I did like the little throwaways that allude to what Norman will become. The
What
helmet-
Harry will become.
No, not Harry.
Well, both of
Norman.
them.
yeah,
Both of them.
well,
Oh, both
yeah.
of them, yeah.
I mean, for Norman, it's the helmet on the desk that reveals
Yeah,
the
that's
secret
true.
door, the grenades in the lab.
Yeah, that's true.
And I do like the little Easter eggs with the masks. Like, they look like goblin masks. Like, you have a green mask for Green Goblin, an orange one for Hobgoblin. There was a gold one, and then, like, a white one for Menace. Menace is actually a female Green Goblin, but that's a different story.
Yeah, she was kind of a stupid character, though, wasn't
So,
she?
anyways, Peter actually does get the cure, though, right? But before that...
Yeah, but it's limited. They
Oh, yeah.
only have a very small amount.
Yeah. And so, anyways, he builds a suit to fight Doc Ock.
Because Ock's plan is to set it off, I think, in the Oscorp Tower, and I think through some method, like, spread it out through the city.
Yeah. And
Or maybe just in the tower
No.
to basically kill Norman and everybody in there.
No, I thought the Devil's Breath was already released into the
Yeah.
city.
it was.
And there was only one vial of the anti-serum.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man had to fight through Mr. Negative to
Uh-huh.
get to it. And then Doc Ock came and kicked his ass and stole the serum.
That's
and
right. Ock
kidnapped-
stole the cure.
Yeah.
And
That's
kidnapped
why.
Norman.
Yeah. So, anyways, when Spider-Man beats Doc Ock, doesn't he rip off his limbs?
At the end of the game, yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the fight, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, we are... Oh, but before that...
Before all that, during the fight with Doc Ock, you really see Peter trying to, like, tap into the man
Yeah.
he once was, and it's very...
Emotional.
It's a very
yeah.
emotional fight. Like, I'm doing, oh my god, this is so good. This is the best game ever.
It's-
And then we get to the cutscene where he manages to take away the shell casing that hides the plug.
Mhm.
But before he could do anything more, he runs out of web fluid, and
Yeah.
you see,
Yeah.
I don't know why this
Yeah,
is
but
always
be-
a point
but
for
before the-
Spider-Man. He gets, like,
Yeah,
slapped in
his-
the face by a tentacle, and part of his helmet is broken off.
Yeah.
And
I can explain that.
But what I love is at that moment when Doc Ock is looking down on Peter, he's like such a disappointment, Parker, and I'm like, oh my god, he is not a dumb comic book character.
Yeah, it's like he knew the whole time.
Yeah.
Which puts the whole him trying to kill Peter beforehand kill Spider-Man into a new light, because
Yeah.
it's like he knew it was Peter from the start.
Uh-huh. He just pretended to play stupid. So,
He just
anyways...
pretended to play stupid, and inside Doc's own fractured mind, he was giving him warnings to stay away.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Also, we forgot to mention this, but before the fight with Doc Ock, and I think before, like, Spider-Man goes after the cure, while they're in Osborn's lab, Miles gets bit by a spider.
No,
Well, I mean,
no, that was after they brought Spider-Man to Feast, fixed up his wounds, and then Spider-Man goes off to try and
Okay.
figure out a way to.
So, anyways, after he beats Doc Ock, he like you said, he has a limited quantity of the serum. So he either has to save the lives of many or save just one life. And apparently,
here, I'll do it. Basically, what happens is Spider-Man has the cure, but Aunt May's condition has gotten to an advanced state, and they need the medical team need the cure so that they can condense it and synthesize enough for the large population that is infected. The problem is the time it would take to synthesize more of the cure, Aunt May will already die because her condition is so advanced. So Peter has a very heart-wrenching choice where he can either give the cure to May and save her, or he can give it to the medical team so that they can save hundreds of thousands of others that have just been infected.
but and before she died, she knew that Peter
Yeah,
was
she
Spider-Man.
reveals that she knew
Oh my
that Peter
God.
was.
Oh my
who
god!
he
When I
was.
got to that point, I just let the tears fall.
And that puts the great power, great responsibility, like
Yep.
to a whole new level.
So, anyways, New York's back to normal. Peter and Mary Jane rekindle the relationship, and as the credits roll, there's 2 after credits. We find out that Peter and Miles are like roommates now or something.
No, he goes to Peter himself.
Oh
They're
yeah,
not
and it
roommates.
reveals that he's got spider powers.
Yeah.
According to Peter, he's going over to Miles to stay for a little bit until things settle down.
Yeah,
for
because we forgot to mention
his
that
new
Peter got
place.
evicted early on in
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Peter Miles tells Peter that he's got spider powers, and he's like, "Oh wow, like I can teach you, but it's not gonna be easy." But the real after credit scene is with Norman Osborn. He goes to a tank and sees like this person wrapped in black goop, and he says, "I'm gonna fix this, Harry."
Yeah.
I love you, son.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very obvious that Harry is going to end up being Venom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
Unless Venom is already a thing, because there was a little throwback in one of the
oh yeah,
side
for Eddie
missions
Brock.
for Eddie Brock when there was a imposter Spider-Man running around and Spider-Man's taking a look at one of the guys he knocked out. The imposter knocked out, and he's like, still breathing, so at least he's not a lethal protector.
Oh.
So maybe Eddie Brock is already Venom in this thing.
I don't know. Well, anyways, on to the DLC.
Uh-huh.
What came first? Was it Black Cat, Hammerhead, or Silver Sable?
Black Cat.
Black
Oh yeah,
Cat, the
Black
heist.
Cat. Yeah. So with Black Cat, this takes place after the game, and basically she was like trying to find her father or whatever.
No.
She was after money. Basically, she tricked Peter into getting flash drives for her that contained access codes to the Mafia's bank account and basically would give her enough money to be set for life.
Yeah, and it confirms that they both banged.
Yes. Well, because the way she tricks him is she tells him
That
they have
a
her,
kid.
they have her son.
That Hammerhead has her kid.
Yeah, and Peter realizes, well, base that, we had a relationship. There's a chance that if this kid is real and she's not yanking my chain, which we find out she is, that there's a good chance that the kid is his. I kind of like. I don't know if this is confirmed or denied, but I think MJ kind of confirms it's like while they were, it's like during that breakup, Peter got with Kat and MJ got like with apparently a lot of guys.
And after that, you fight Hammerhead, right? And he's trying to like be the new Kingpin, isn't he?
Yeah, basically his plan was he was working, I think, for the Mafia or one of them, and he wanted to take over. But then after Kat took all the money, he had no resources, so he
He stooped to hijacking.
yeah, he
Sable.
hijacked the Silver Sable equipment, what he could, and basically started his own gang war to try and become the new Kingpin.
Yeah. And he's got like this Lex Luthor like battle suit.
Yeah.
And then after that, you think he died, but he survived. And then on to Silver Sable. So she's after.
Well, we also need to bring up the other plot line that goes on in the Hammerhead one, which is Yuri just completely.
Oh yeah, she
losing
goes like
it.
Punisher mode.
Yeah, because at the beginning of that DLC, they're trying to take down Hammerhead, and Hammerhead ends up taking down her entire squadron. So she basically loses all of her cop friends to Hammerhead, and he gets off scot-free.
Yeah. And with Silver Sable, she's after Spider-Man because why again?
Because she wants
her tech back.
Oh, okay. But Spider-Man didn't do a damn thing. Whatever. That's every comic where everyone's after Spider-Man. And so, like,
it's not like I like you, Spider Baka.
so, anyways, also
I
we
like Spider-Man's mentality about this whole thing. He's like, I try so hard to be likable. Why does everybody want to fight me?
also we think that Black Cat died in the first DLC because of the explosion set by Hammerhead, but nope, she survived.
Well, yeah, nobody thought she was dead.
Yeah.
They're not
Hey,
going to kill her off.
9 lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, you fight Hammerhead on like what, a Navy ship or something?
Oh God! And what happened to Hammerhead?
I know,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I
They
think
didn't
all
fucking
of
kill them.
I think all of us together, when we saw Hammerhead return, we're like, all of us collectively said, "Holy shit!"
What the hell happened? Where the hell is his body?
Yeah, because
he's
he basically turns into a robot with just a head.
Yeah, but like at the end of the fight, like
He becomes like the cyborgs from Alita.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then like at the end of the fight, you crash the ship in him, and like You supposedly kill him.
Again.
He'll be fine.
Oh, but this is great. The after credit scene. Well, after the DLC's done, there is a homage to Stan Lee, rest his soul. But then Spider-Man teaches Miles how to swing, but then Miles just jumps and he's following.
Peter kills him. He's teaching him to web sling. It's like, okay, we're going to start web slinging by jumping from the top of this 70-story skyscraper. Geronimo! And then he jumps and it fades to black. And as far as we know, Miles is dead.
Yeah. Oh, but not as funny as what happened during the gameplay during that mission.
Oh, God, that was amazing. That was great.
Okay. I was at the controls at the moment, so we were trying to get to the next checkpoint to progress through the story.
Basically, at
During
certain
Tier 4s.
points in the game, after Miles knows that you're Spider-Man, he will call you at certain moments to kind of discuss training and the kind of training they should be doing. And it happens at random, just like with the J. Jonah Jameson podcast.
And anyway, I'm swinging over to the
next mission, basically.
To basically the next mission, yeah. And we get the call, and all of us have this mentality of okay, we got to stop what we're doing so we can listen to this call, so we can get more dialogue, because the dialogue in this game is very well written.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Miles has a
But
hard-
I ended up stopping at a point where there's a gang war between...
Yeah, right in the middle of a gang war.
shooting fucking rocket launchers.
Between Hammerhead's Mafia and the police, I think. And I'm hiding behind a building. I'm hiding behind something obscuring the...
A billboard.
I'm hiding behind a billboard so that way their fire is obscured. And we're just listening to it and just laughing as there's a gang war.
Basically, Spider-Man's right behind a billboard as this giant-ass gang war is going on behind him with bullets, fire, and missiles. And it feels so much like something you would see in the comic of Peter just talking on the phone, and it's like, what's that going on in the background, Peter? Oh, it's just the TV.
But it's like having a heart-to-heart conversation.
He's having this heart-to-heart conversation with Miles while there is a literal gang war going on behind him. And it's just hilarious.
This is not a cutscene at all.
I know.
Cutscene, that's the best part.
It was the most perfect unintended...
I know a lot of funny stuff happened in that game.
I wish we had recorded that.
I know.
That was amazing.
All right. So, anyways, we talked about the story and the DLC. So the game.
The best part is when that conversation starts. Miles goes, "Hey, Peter, are you busy?" As there's fucking gunfire in the background.
I kind of jumped off a bridge and broke my toe. You know that the hospital doesn't do a thing when you do that?
All right. So, anyways, the gameplay is very similar to the Arkham games.
The combat.
Yeah, the combat is.
Combat-wise, yes,
Yeah.
it's very similar.
Yeah,
to
but the death
Arkham
rate is
Asylum
much
games.
higher.
No, because when you toss them off the buildings, web kind of sticks to them.
Oh, please. It's when it sticks to them, it smacks them right in the wall. The impact
What
shot
What about when
would
you toss him
kill
into a
them.
car?
Oh. Oh boy.
No, tossing him out of the car.
Yeah.
But Jersey's a cheating motherfucker because he uses that vortex.
Oh yeah, he uses
gadget.
the anti-gravity thing to cheese all the
I
fights.
gotta do whatever it takes to survive.
Yeah, but
You would have been perfect for that one screwball mission in was it the second or third DLC? I think it's the second. You would have been perfect for that
But,
because you're only limited to gadgets,
and
and you have to beat the
and
people swarming
it
you
does
with those
yeah,
gadgets.
it's the most OP gadget in the game, but it doesn't work on the big guys first try because they're too
unless
fat.
you upgrade.
Yeah, unless you upgrade.
I think one of the best whoa moments we had was the first time we got one of those in-game web swinging cinematics where you go through a ladder or a bridge or something like that. You know,
Oh,
where it
yeah.
becomes kind of cinematic as you thin your body out to go through something, go through a hole basically.
I know that is cool. Would you say that the web swing mechanics are better than this one, or better than the second Spider-Man game based off of the second movie?
I know Brian likes Spider-Man 2 game.
It's not as fast. Here's the thing. Spider-Man 2 has a momentum mechanic where if you are doing it right, you build up tremendous speed and you are basically Superman level flying through that city. Like, you will let go of a web line and catapult yourself like down, like past an entire street's worth of building before you have to shoot out another web line. There are also some mechanics that aren't in this that are in the PS2 one. Like, one that I know of is if you grab onto a pole that's jutting out with enough momentum, you can go around and around in a 360 motion.
You know what I liked?
So it's like, I think mechanically, yes, it is much more solid. It's much more stable. I think it is technically better, and there's more you can do. But I think Spider-Man 2 has better momentum swinging. Like, you can build up a lot more speed.
Also, I think in that game, you can web a guy and just spin him around and around, kind of like a yo-yo.
You can.
Yeah, too bad you couldn't do this in this game. Anyways, what are some of your favorite levels and fights and all that?
Well, I think we should get into talking about the characters, like how they're done in this version versus other stuff.
Yeah, I think Doc Ock in this game was better than the movie version.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Because there's more time to build him up, is the thing.
More time to build him up, and he does not go down as a redeemable person.
Yeah,
And,
they don't pull the Jekyll Hyde thing that they did in the movie.
You know, if I were to be honest about Peter Parker, like, Yuri Lowenthal with Spider-Man is like what Mark Hamill is with the Joker.
Yeah.
Because
He is a very good Spider-Man. One thing I will say is there are points where he's like yelling, like during the Doc Ock fight, definitely, where the Sasuke slips through. I there were times during that Doc Ock fight where he's yelling at Ock where I'm just like, I totally hear Sasuke.
You think Sasuke from Naruto. I think of Yosuke from Persona 4.
Well, some people
I
think
can
of
see that.
him as Ben Tennyson from Ben 10 Alien Force. Yeah, he did the older Ben 10, right?
Yeah,
Yuri
but
Lowenthal?
there weren't as many moments where Ben 10 was really screaming. That was the big thing in Naruto, was Sasuke was screamed a lot. So whenever it gets to that high level of screaming, it starts to sound like those other roles.
What else? I think, the fun thing about Rhino in this game, well, he's got a lot more character development than Amazing Spider-Man 2.
yeah,
He's also got his accent for once.
Yeah, and the guy that does his voice is Buff Frog.
Oh, from Star vs. Evil.
And Rocksteady from the 2012.
I will squish it like little grape.
He's also Hulk in most of the Marvel stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he's no stranger to the Marvel games. I mean, Marvel Universe or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Also, I think the guy that does the voice of Vulture in that game also voiced him in the first Sam Raimi game. I forgot his name, but he did the voice of Mundal from Chowder.
I mean, so like I said, let's talk about like the characterization, the characterization and some of the big moments and the things that it does the same but also changes. Like, one of the things we brought up was MJ, and it's like, I like the basic idea. I like the idea of changing her from being the supermodel to something more interactive, something that actually does something. Because that was always a problem with MJ. It was hard to get her involved in the story because her life is as a supermodel, which is very detached from everything Peter does. So I like the idea of her being more involved in Peter's stuff. Not exactly a fan of her being a full-on reporter because, as we said, then she falls into the Lois Lane territory or the Iris West territory.
But Brian, you're forgetting the best MJ, the Homecoming MJ.
It is not MJ. It is not MJ.
Let's focus on subject. But
Yeah.
I kind of
Let's save that for when we trash Homecoming
I kind of like with,
or Far From Home.
I kind of like what they did with
Unless Far From
Miles.
Home is actually a good movie.
I mean, it'll probably be a good movie, but like I said in the Homecoming thing, I didn't really connect with it.
Because it's not like that faithful to Spider-Man. Well, because this, I believe, is... this game
is very faithful.
To Spider-Man, even better than the MCU.
Yeah.
And that's saying something. And with J. Jonah Jameson, would you say that this Jonah was as good or even better than J.K. Simmons?
Yes, mainly because he got more to do. Like that was the thing about J.K. Simmons. He was perfect for that role, but he was not given a lot of screen time throughout the trilogy. So it's like the moments he's there, he's good. But honestly, throughout this game, there was probably more dialogue through those podcasts than through all three of those movies.
Yeah. Also with Aunt May, they made her younger, kind of like the Ultimate Universe.
I think they picked a good age range, though. I do not like Homecoming's age range of her
Where
being
she's a
like
MILF
she's like in her
cougar.
late 30s at the latest.
Yeah.
You know that actress is like 50 years old.
Really?
Oh,
Yes.
the
Okay.
Homecoming
Yes.
Aunt May?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, either way, the way that they display her, it's very obvious she's supposed to be around Tony's age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, how would you describe Miles in this game? Would you say
A
he's-
nerd.
Yeah, but I don't think he's as good as probably the Spider-Verse Miles.
Here's the thing, and I bring this up a lot whenever we do these Spider-Man things. This Miles in the game is basically what Peter is in Homecoming. And I think that works so much better for Miles than it does for Peter. And the Miles in Spider-Verse is basically old school Peter very much. And it's like, I like that, but I like this Miles even more than the Spider-Verse one because this feels like a good characterization for him. I like
he's
this.
his own character.
Yeah, it feels like they're not drawing as much on just making him Black Peter.
Yeah.
This feels like an original characterization for Miles. It's this idea of he is a Spider-Man fanboy, but he doesn't have the self-confidence issues that Peter does. He's very, like, here's the best way I would describe it. If Spider-Verse Miles is Tim Drake, then the Spider-Man PS4 game is Dick Grayson.
Mm-hmm.
He is a Miles who is very excited about this idea.
All right. So, did we kind of go through all the characters?
I mean, there is Harry Osborn.
Well, with Harry, he didn't even really have any screen time.
Well, yeah, because he was off screen the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how about favorite levels, fights, and all that?
I believe one of your favorite fights involved the vintage comic Spider-Man against Mr. Negative.
Yeah, I forget why.
It was like the final fight because you said how the vintage comic.
Oh,
fits
yeah.
with,
Now I remember. Basically, during the final fight against Lee, you get trapped in this negative
Yeah.
zone.
It's like
And-
something out of Naruto because he
Yeah.
summons this demon that looks like the Susanoo.
Well,
Rolling my eyes here.
what's
Rolling my
in-
eyes because Naruto is mentioned.
Well, what's interesting is it has a much more comic book feel to it due to all the bright colors than anything else in the game, and so the comic book spider suit fits very well in that level. It looks like an actual comic book battle brought to life.
Well, I'd say my favorite fight probably has to be the Shocker one because it's much better than fighting Electrocutioner in Arkham Origins. Because they kind of treat Shocker like a joke in some games and comics, but you actually get a good, decent fight.
Yeah. I think we should talk about a lot of, like I said, I think we should talk story-wise about a lot of the big moments it does, the risks it takes, and some of the twists it makes. Obviously, one of the big risks is it kills off Aunt May, which is just that is amazing because I don't think any other interpretation of Spider-Man has ever done that. It's been done
I
in the
had
comics,
actually-
but they retconned that
Yeah, they brought
twice.
it back.
I had actually heard that Marvel was very much against that idea.
I can understand that because comics in general try to stick to the status quo. And I
well,
think
not DC lately.
DC's got their own problems.
Yeah.
DC's got the bait and switch problem.
DC's got the Dan DiDio problem.
Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms for another episode.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the best moments when you're doing a reboot are when you take those risks that you haven't seen before but make perfectly logical sense. Another example is TMNT, the Shredder Karai thing, him actually seeing her as a daughter. and his Splinter basically being his blood brother and stuff like that. Like, that is stuff we've never seen done, but it makes perfect sense based on what's already been established. And that is something that this game does, I think, a lot. Like, this idea of making Norman an actual dad who cares about his son. That's something that's not normally done, but it's interpretation that you can kind of see as working, and it does work. May being killed off, never been done, totally works. Black Cat, and this is something I actually wish they'd gone through with. Black Cat and Peter having a out-of-wedlock kid, a bastard child, something that has never been done, but could totally work, and would be a very interesting idea.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Oh, what? Oh, man.
Well, because so often, because here's the thing, this has always been a big problem with Spider-Man in the comics, is that at Marvel, they are terrified of letting him grow up. They have rebooted him backwards so many times based on that. Like, they got rid of the marriage to MJ specifically because they felt him being married made him seem too old. That's why they got rid of the child the first time MJ was pregnant. That's why they got rid of the marriage and the child that they were expecting at that point. They think that Peter has to stay as either a high school teenager or a college student. They are absolutely terrified of him going beyond college because they want him to be the kid character forever. Like, just recently in the comics, they literally took away Peter's degree so they could justify him going back to college again.
Oh my god. Well, anyways, let's talk about, like, I kind of already talked about favorite levels and fights, but let's talk about the least favorite levels and all that. I think I know.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We talked about your favorite levels. We didn't talk about all the
I'm
others.
sorry. Go ahead.
I think my favorite level is, it's not so much a level, but the kind of boss rush thing.
Yeah.
Where
mine too.
You jump from where you fight the entire Sinister Six in double battles.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was
Electro
I kind of had,
was,
the one with
you had to
Vulture
stay
and
in the air.
yeah, the one with Vulture and
battle.
Electro, that was kind of hard for me. I spent so much time like trying how to take out Electro. I thought I had to like web like the power emitters that he's generating, but no, you got to shoot web at him.
I kind of preferred the Rhino and Scorpion battle. Like,
If
on
only
ground.
for their banter.
Yeah.
Oh, will you two just kiss and make up already?
What was yours favorite, Nathan?
Same as Brian's. Same as Brian's, the whole double battle thing, because I really loved that. I also liked Scorpion's whole little poison.
Oh, yeah, the drug trip.
The hallucination. I love the ending of that.
You get to unlock that costume too.
Yeah.
A costume.
That's hilarious.
A costume to surpass serious moments.
No, I think Serious Moment still tops it.
Yeah, especially with the
It tops
hospital.
It tops a man in Spider-Man undies and mask.
It tops it because of how ridiculous it makes the cutscenes.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Like, if you'd seen the one where like they had to rush Spider-Man to the feast like place. And
Oh yeah, that was Spider-Man on a stretcher where he's supposed to be all damaged and bandaged and like dying, and it's the fucking cartoon costume. It's hilarious.
That costume or the Spider Clan costume?
No,
I wish you had been allowed to wear the Serious Moment costume in the Aunt May death scene. That would have been.
I know.
No, that would have ruined everything.
Yeah.
I know, but like replaying it with that would have been hilarious.
know.
Replaying that scene with
You mean
it.
like how the game at the end locks you out of any other costume and you have to play and watch through that?
Yeah.
Oh, my other favorite level has to be, it's one of the
It's almost like it's telling specifically you, Brian, no, this is actually a serious moment.
Yeah.
it's one of the MJ levels. I think it's at the subway station where like she has to sneak past the demons to get a hold of the bomb or whatever, and like you kind of like aid Spider-Man.
Yeah, basically she she kind of directs Spider-Man when and where to attack.
I think that was the only MJ level that I liked.
It was an interesting mechanic. Is why.
Yeah,
I
I've
love
heard a
it.
lot of people say that they did not like the MJ and Miles segment.
It's just
understandably
because
so.
they're very slow. There's
Yeah.
slow stealth sections.
Yeah.
Well, with the Miles one, I think my other favorite probably had to been the Rhino one because,
Yeah.
my first time playing it, I didn't really memorize the patterns. But when I played it by myself the second time, I kind of did memorize those patterns to escape Rhino. So, Jersey?
That was actually, the best gameplay with the stealth mechanic because, you're playing as a human who doesn't have, like, the super strength abilities of
Yeah.
Spider-Man. So,
Yet.
you're terrified at the fact, of, trying to escape this big hulking monster that can
I
just-
will squish your head like little blueberry.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about our least favorite levels.
1, 2, 3. Screwball.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, my lord.
What
I
else?
was actually expecting all of us to say it together.
What else did I hate?
well.
I didn't like the Harry Osborn levels where you're cleaning up the city and like the little spider drone
Well,
that
to
you
be
walk
fair,
around.
a lot of the stuff is side missions you don't have to do.
I know.
I would say mandatory. That one where you have to web those electrical towers while you're being shot out by the sky things.
Oh yeah, I think that was.
I think
dumb.
it's a Silver Sable level later in the game.
What else did I hate? I think most of the MJ levels, obviously, but I didn't like the puzzles because there were some puzzles I could solve, but others I skipped.
I didn't mind the puzzles.
Yeah, Jersey was able to do the puzzles,
Yeah,
and,
I love the
and
puzzles.
he eats with the wrong side of a fork.
I thought we weren't going to talk about
I actually
that.
like the part where what happens in the DLC where Spider-Man orders a pizza.
Oh.
I gave you the controller. Here, I'll let you do the next level.
Oh.
And it was an MJ mission.
But speaking when he orders the pizza, let's talk about the dialogue for that. Where he says, okay, what do you say? I love you. Yeah, you
God,
you
I
go ahead.
love you.
Yeah.
And now, I must destroy you.
That's something Anthony would say.
Because there are times where you guys actually do get that hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping we get some face-to-face interaction with Peter and JJ next time.
Yeah.
Yes, there were we make fun of J. Jonah Jameson because he was the Alex Jones in the game, but at certain points in the game, where the game actually does get serious, you see him come up and he actually says stuff that you're like,
Wow.
wow, you know what, JJ, you're right.
Now,
You're
does
right, we
that
gotta
mean I
stop it.
approve of Spider-Man? Of course not.
No, I mean like when he was like acting as the voice of the people who are like panicking and is like trying
Yeah.
to calm everyone down. I can actually see him using that to like catapult him to a position as the next mayor in the next game.
And he does
doesn't
become
he does
in the
become
comics.
mayor in the comics.
And he ends up developing a task force specifically to take down Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, I
so,
could see that.
yeah, we're gonna have to retread that. It's not gonna be Sable, but it's gonna be someone just as annoying.
Well, no. Here's the thing: if they do that, that would be the perfect way to bring in the Spider Slayers.
Ooh.
Yes.
Like
yes,
you can bring in Alistair Smythe then, have him be working for Jonah
yes.
on the side.
Good.
Yes.
All right.
And then I really want this to happen. I want Jameson to find out who Spider-Man is.
Oh.
Well,
Because that
not long ago in the comics, Peter actually revealed who he was to him.
I know. I want that to happen.
I remember he revealed his identity in Civil War, and Jameson fainted.
Yeah.
Well, anyways,
we don't talk about Civil War. That comic was. I know people look back on it fondly, but it was very much a mess.
yeah, the movie was better.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, ranking and how it compares to probably other superhero games.
Well, maybe we should talk about what worked for the game and what needed
Didn't work,
improvement.
yeah.
I mean, the only thing that really didn't work, and people have said it, is the stealth sections, because I think mainly the thing people didn't like is it's such a speed shift going from the fast action and, the spider powers and all this stuff to basically almost a walking simulator for a lot of the stealth sections.
I also didn't really like the puzzles. I mean, I get Peter Parker's supposed to be a smart guy, but come on.
I love the puzzles.
Yeah, I like the puzzles.
Yeah.
Not me. I'm not really a puzzle solver.
Yeah, the puzzles were quite, fun and interesting. It's like trying to, get the lines to, be aligned, right?
You mean the Bioshock hacking sequences?
Hurts. What hurts?
What's that line from SpongeBob? Big words make me hurt.
Oh yeah,
or something like that.
He's talking to Plankton. He's like, your big words are making my head hurt. I don't get it. Like his head was crying.
That's Mark.
Yup.
Puzzles make me hurt.
Do not let him touch a Zelda game then.
No, I've actually played Zelda games.
Which one?
I played Twilight Princess. I played Skyward Sword. But when I get stuck, I usually just go online and see like what I had to do. But if it was like a really easy one, I'm like, that's all I had to do. God, I feel so stupid.
Yeah, I've had that.
Yeah, same with the Arkham games.
Actually, one of the gameplays I didn't like, although I understood it's supposed to be challenging, but is when the Hammerhead's thugs get all this silver sand.
Oh yeah, they pretty much turn into the Heavy from TF2.
And I'm thinking, man, I miss the days when thugs just had like guns and.
Yeah.
I think he says that, doesn't he?
I don't know.
I think he says like, I miss the days when it was just handguns and knives.
Yeah.
All right. So should we say like how it compares to other superhero games and where would you rank it?
I mean, there's not exactly a lot of good superhero games to rank it
Yeah,
against.
other than
outside
the
Arkham games.
Yeah.
Does Transformers count as a superhero game?
I don't know, not really, but yeah, the Cybertron games are good though.
The Cybertron games are good, and Devastation was amazing.
I never Transformers Devastation.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good. What's that one game that it's like an open world game and you kind of have like powers similar to like a symbiote?
Oh, Prototype.
Yeah. So yeah, anyways, like for a future, well, with ranking, I give it a 10, 100, best game. But for the future, I want the guys that make Prototype to do either like a Venom game or, no, better, a Hulk game. We already got Hulk Ultimate Destruction, but we need another game like that. That was just amazing.
7 out of 10. Too much MJ. No, I love this game. It's a great game. I'm looking forward to the sequel. I'm really looking forward to what they are going to do in the story because it's been a long time since there's been a Spider-Man thing that has actually had me invested in the freaking story. Like, not since I would say Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yeah, because, well, with the future, I think I heard that they are going to try to do, like, some type of Marvel video game universe, like the cinematic universe.
I mean, they hinted at that in the Arkham games as well by throwing out Easter eggs to other cities.
Yeah. I just wish Rocksteady would do a Superman game already.
The problem is it's harder to do that in video games because then you have characters with vastly different powers that are supposed to be doing the same missions. And it's like it's easier if a superhero just has one game. That's why in the Lego games, most of the heroes kind of do a lot of the same moves.
Yeah.
A part of me wishes that with the Spider-Man like sequel game is that maybe they'll get the idea from the like Mass Effect series. It's like what you did in the previous game like affects the future. Well, mostly with the tech gadgets because it's like
you'll get to decide whether you have green webbing or blue webbing or red webbing.
What? Well, I meant like just get like if I could keep my upgrades instead of having to. I could understand if like you play as Miles Morales. It's like, then that would make sense, like to build upgrades from him. But like.
But I would actually like for Spider-Man to have the symbiote suit and like the powers to be different. Kind of like in Web of Shadows.
If they make Miles a full character, it'd be interesting to see. Like, here's the thing. Now that you have a different character that you can play as, you can take the Spider-Man symbiote thing even further.
Like have Miles fighting Peter when he's wearing the symbiote suit.
Basically, yeah. because the problem with the symbiote suit is Peter has to overcome it himself because there's nobody to stop him.
Yeah.
Now that you have Miles, though, you can have the symbiote take even more control and have Miles be the one that has to help pull him back from that edge.
It would be kind of cool, like, you remember playing Ultimate Spider-Man, where you play as Spider-Man and Venom?
Yeah.
It would be kind of cool if you played as Venom, but, like, the city becomes destructible. I actually kind of like those games where you just get to, like, destroy stuff.
Oh yeah, and like how he leaps tall buildings in a single bound.
Well, no, they could pull the Web of Shadows thing where you're playing as symbiote Spider-Man, whose combat style is more punch and more break bones, and then you play as Miles, whose style is more the classic Spider-Man, and each of them are going down different paths.
Yeah. And would you save Green Goblin for the second or the third game?
I'd want him to be in the second.
All right.
I think in the second, because if we're going to do Harry, it would be much more poignant if after Harry becomes Venom, Norman loses it.
Yeah.
Like, I have a feeling that Norman's going to end up blaming Spider-Man.
If Harry becomes Venom.
Yeah.
Well, it's more likely, but yeah, if Harry becomes Venom, I have a feeling, which that's something that we kind of glossed over. They tie Peter to Doc Ock not just in the sense of him working as his lab assistant, but in the fact that Peter overlooks mechanical problems that are going on with the arms. Like after Doc Ock goes nuts, he goes back and Peter looks at the data and he realizes, oh God, all this stuff, I should have caught this.
Well, you have to keep in mind that Doc had been working on this stuff when Peter was out.
Well, no, but I'm saying Peter has always had this guilt complex thing where with a lot of villains, he blames himself for their existence, even when he really shouldn't. And there are some villains where that doesn't work, but they tried to make Doc Ock, and I think they succeeded, more like that. Like a good example is Peter constantly blames himself for Harry becoming the Goblin. He feels like he ignored him in his time of need. I think he also tends to blame himself for Osborn. He blames himself for Venom, even though, he had no control over Eddie becoming the symbiote, other than him, accidentally leaving Eddie at the church. But he still blames himself 100% for Venom, even though he doesn't have as much control over that happening.
Well, I just hope that with Green Goblin's costume, it's more comic accurate, unlike Amazing Spider-Man 2, where Harry was the Goblin.
I'd actually like
Go, Goblin Ranger, go!
No. That's Sam Raimi one.
Oh, you're talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I'd actually like a combination of that design and the comic.
Oh, the Sam Raimi and a comic one? Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
I would kind of like them to go the ultimate route, but not as
No,
bold.
Really?
No. Hang on.
Let's hear him out. Let's hear him out.
I would like the ultimate route, but not as bulky. Like where it transforms him into a goblin, into looking like a goblin, but without all the bulk. Just regular.
Oh, okay. So no, like, Hulkified Etrigan Goblin?
No. More, basically, it transforms him into a Nightcrawler-looking goblin. Kinda.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that idea for Green Goblin.
Well, like, he still has the glider and stuff, but, like, it causes a physical transformation where he looks like a goblin.
Jersey, opinions?
I mean, okay, you guys are probably going to hate me for this, but I kind of like the Spider-Man 1 Goblin design.
It's
okay.
It's not
Oh,
horrible.
you mean from Raimi?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
Or, to give out a better example, basically a goblin version of the lizard. He still has his intelligence, but, like, the strength and everything comes from the fact that he's been transformed.
Let's see.
Teach there. Yeah.
I wonder what other villains should be in it. Besides Ock. I mean, not Doc Ock. Goblin and Venom.
They already did Taskmaster, so I imagine that the next best thing to go with side quest villain is Kraven.
Yes.
Yeah, they should definitely put in Kraven. They
Do
could also
not put back Screwball.
Oh no, Screwball is coming back. You know she is coming back.
They could also put in Mysterio.
Yes.
Yes,
And Lizard.
Yes.
Oh,
Well, I mean, I think the one we would all like to see, depending on where they go, is the Spider Slayers.
Yeah, but
The Spider
I think
Slayers,
Mysterio should be like the Riddler of that game, or no, or more like the Scarecrow.
Why not throw in Sandman too?
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause,
Yeah.
one of my favorite bits of throwaway dialogue is when Aunt May is talking to Miles at Feast about her experiences at working there, and she said, "And so I went up to the Sandman, stood him straight in the eye, and said, 'This is a charity center, not a bank. Get out.'" And he did.
Wow.
Uh,
How about a Chameleon?
Ooh, Chameleon.
Yeah.
Chameleon would be an interesting.
Maybe he'd be more like a stealth type of mission villain.
this one is kind of a dream character of mine, though I don't see how you could integrate him.
Palm Striker?
Shut up!
Let's not
Shut
give
up.
any context.
Shut up!
Yeah.
Let's not give any context.
No context on that.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that.
Talking
So,
about that white, like, vampire dude.
oh, Morbius?
Morbius.
Morbius.
That would be a good one.
Yeah.
You know what? Morbius is another example of a version of him tried to tie him into Peter and making him feel guilty. In the 90s animated series, they had it that Morbius turned because he was experimenting on Peter's radioactive blood. Therefore, even though Peter had really nothing to do with it, he blamed himself. That's what.
But it was my blood.
Yeah, so it's like that is an example of, kind of taking these villains that really have absolutely no ties to Peter whatsoever and tying them in so that he feels responsible for them.
How about putting in Carnage?
I think Carnage is for later.
Yeah,
It's
save
gonna be
Carnage for the
difficult,
third
but
game.
Yeah.
That way you can have Spider-Man, Miles, and Venom team up.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, actually,
How about Agent Venom?
Well, no, hang on. If they go the ultimate route, they could have it that Peter becomes Carnage.
Ooh.
Because they did that in the Ultimate books.
Yeah, they did.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, how would they
Well,
say-
to be fair, they did it in the Ultimate game. No, it was actually done pretty well. Basically, Osborn wanted the secrets of the symbiote, but since it was destroyed, he captured Spider-Man to experiment on him to try and get the residual symbiote cells out of him. But during the experiments, the cells went wild and ended up turning into the Carnage symbiote. Basically, Peter had residual venom left in his blood that Osborn wanted, and during the experiments to try and get it, it mutated them into Carnage symbiote cells.
So I guess we already talked about like what we want for the sequel. How about like upcoming games that are coming out for Marvel? Because apparently there is going to be an Iron Man game. Bad news is it's PSVR. Yep. Yeah. So anyways, I know that one upcoming game coming out is Ultimate Alliance 3.
Wait, they're doing an Ultimate Alliance 3?
Yeah, for the Switch.
Only on the Switch.
Oh,
Only on the
yes, I
Switch.
got a Switch.
Yeah, but the problem is that they said that Carol is going to be like the ultimate protector.
Let's save our talk about Carol for Endgame and when that comes out.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens
I'm
there.
still waiting for the Avengers Project by Square Enix, though.
Oh God!
Are
You know what? We were looking at those.
Please tell me that the characters are designed by Tetsuya Nomura.
Yes, I hope
Ooh,
so.
that'll be cool.
I hope so.
I say it.
That would be
I say it as a
hilarious.
joke because his designs are heavily influenced in Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, and the Kingdom Hearts series.
Dude, Punisher by Tetsuya Nomura just buckles everywhere. The costume is just buckles.
Okay, what character would have a lot of zippers though?
Ooh, probably Black Widow.
Yeah.
All right. So, did you guys have anything else to talk about?
I mean, that's pretty much it. That's all I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great game, and part of the thing I love about the story is here's the thing. This is something I commented on. The way that you do a reboot, there are a few key things you should never, ever, ever, ever change when you do a reboot. Number one, Do not change the do not change the characters' personalities. Number 2, do not change their powers. You can add to them, but they still have to have the same powers. Number 3, do not change the motivation. Like, you can switch around a little bit of the events that happen in the motivation. Like, for example, it doesn't matter. A good example is in the Raimi movies, they switched it that Uncle Ben was killed by a carjacker rather than being killed at home. They changed the location, but it's still the same means of death. And do not change their base location. You can take them to new places, but where they start, the place that they start doing what they're doing has to stay the same. Those, I think, are the 4 things that have to stay the same. You can change everything else, but you got to keep those 4 staples.
So number 4 specifically resonates for both you and I, because if they do not have it grounded in a certain place, in a certain where everything like shoots off, you end up having a similar thing to the reboot remake on Netflix, which is nothing like its predecessor at all.
Like, a good example is, Peter's base is in New York. It's like, imagine if they decided, okay, we're going to do Spider-Man the exact same, but
in Kansas.
Yeah, in Kansas. There you go. In Kansas.
So it's basically Smallville.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, that's, not... You're taking away a lot.
I just bring
I
up
think
a
there's
state
just
that's
one
flatter
character
than a
that you can
pancake.
kind of change, like where they start off. Probably Hulk, because he's always on the run.
Oh, yeah.
They kind of did that with the Lou Ferrigno TV show.
I actually wanted to, now that I think talk about setting for future sequels. Don't you think that maybe people might eventually get bored if they, swing around the same, city area?
Well, what's funny is in Homecoming, he doesn't swing around New York at all.
Yeah.
Like, there is no point where he web swings in that movie.
Well, yeah, he's a high school student. He's in Queens.
So it takes place like in the more neighborhood district of New York instead of the big city.
But even during the parts where he's in the city, he never web swings in that movie, ever.
I think he did more web swinging in Civil War and in
he did
Infinity
a little bit
War
at the beginning. Remember when he was on top of the building and the guy's like, "Hey, you're Spider-Man, right?"
But he doesn't web swing to the building or off the building.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure. And then later when he's trying to chase down the Vulture, he's doing it in a car.
So anyways, how about what kind of games you guys would like to see next, based off of superheroes?
I actually want a Flash game.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because there was gonna be one. There was early development builds for that, but it got canned really early in development.
There was also a Daredevil game coming out around the movie, but that got canned too. And
well, it went through development hell, and by the time they had
one for the Game Boy Advance though.
By the time they even got close to a working prototype, the movie was already out, and it's like, okay, just scrap it at this point.
I want another Punisher game. They had one based off of the 2004 movie where you get to interrogate guys and kill them in unique, gruesome ways.
Well, if you want a Punisher game, just go play Max Payne or something.
Or Hatred.
Yeah.
But I wish for another Hulk game like Ultimate Destruction.
What about you, Jers?
Well, I was the same with Mark Punisher game, but I would like the option of switching from third-person or first-person shooter.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
I'd like a Thor game that's like God of War.
They have that. It's called God of War.
Yeah. Dude, literally the new God of War is him taking down
the North
Pantheon.
Yeah. I know that there was a Ghost Rider game for the movie, and the chain combats was kind of like God of War.
Kratos even throws an axe and
yeah, and summons it back to him.
I haven't played the new God of War, so
you should.
I know. I bet it's good.
It actually makes up for a lot.
He's even got the Thor beard.
It actually makes up a lot for the previous God of War's downcomings.
Yeah. So Jersey, I remember you said that with the Hulk game, the one based off of the 2003 movie, you said that's how you do a game. Well, the gameplay was all right. I didn't like the banner missions, but the story was way better than the actual 2003 movie.
Oh my god!
I know, because it had the leader in it.
Yeah, it did.
Introducing and saying goodbye to the leader.
Oh, great. Don't even get me started on that. You think a Black Panther game would be kind of cool?
Well, not really. He doesn't have as big of a rogues gallery, and the most memorable ones have already been featured in the first movie.
Yeah.
No, I think a Black Panther game could be good because if you set it all in Wakanda and go, kind of wild with the tech.
Like what's that one game called? Primal Instinct or Primal Rage?
I don't know.
You want to know what's funny? A Black Panther game set in a technologically advanced Wakanda wouldn't be too dissimilar from a Spider-Man 2099 game.
Ooh.
Because he's got the claws, he's got the camouflage thing, he's got the enhanced strength and speed. You put it in this tech city, it's very much would be like Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah. So, Jersey, when you were talking about a Punisher game, what if it was more like Grand Theft Auto?
That'd be interesting.
Actually,
Only
no,
you're a
I think a
vigilante.
Deadpool game like Grand Theft Auto would be good.
Actually, I know exactly what game I want. I want another good X-Men game.
Yeah.
Because you get so many characters you can play as in that
You
game.
mean like X-Men Legends 3?
Yeah. And like really advance the RPG mechanics and make it more similar to the Final Fantasy 15 in terms of combat.
What I would want is, we've mentioned it before, a Superman game from Rocksteady.
Yeah.
And if they do, the specific iteration of Superman I want is the 90s animated series Superman.
All right. Here's my kind of pitch for a Superman game to get around the problem they always seem to run into him being overpowered. You set the game on another planet. Like Superman gets a distress call to go save this planet that's in danger.
And somehow members of his rogue galleries are on that planet too.
Well,
I
some of them are space people. There's
I think
Brainiac, Mongol. There's a
Darkseid.
There's a decent number of space-based.
Actually, I got a
villains.
better idea. What if there's a solar flare on Earth, and like his powers are kind of on the fritz?
See, but that kind of you're making an excuse to weaken him. Just send him out into space where you can justify these mooks actually being
more powerful.
more
than him.
powerful.
I mean, I'd like a Green Lantern game too. One that's not based off of a movie, but
Well, they had that and it sucked.
yeah, I know. But I'd like a Justice League game. I mean, I know there was one like about 10 years ago, but like make one that's like a big RPG style game.
The Justice League one they did on, I think it was the PS2. It was pretty decent for what it was.
But I'd like one that's more like Marvel Heroes or Ultimate Alliance or X-Men Legend games or
yeah.
what else should they do? Well, I know these are technically comic book heroes, but not superheroes. They need a TMNT game, a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TMNT has such a rich history, and you can just do so much with it. And the best part is the characters are already fairly similar, just with different fighting styles. Like TMNT plus the Arkham style would be amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even though this character's not a comic book character, but I want a Godzilla game that's like Ultimate Destruction with Hulk.
But Mark, you already got the greatest Godzilla game ever on the PS4.
Nope, that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
That is a kaiju simulator.
No, isn't it literally called Godzilla?
Yeah.
It's a Godzilla game, but it's practically a kaiju simulator. It's a poor man's kaiju simulator.
Yeah.
All I know is that it's absolutely horrible.
It is. The controls are shit.
The character models are fantastic.
I refuse to play it though because I saw AVGN's playthrough of it and like he reviewed it. I'm like, oh man, I'm dodging this like a bullet.
I haven't.
Yeah, I to what you said, I would love a TMNT fighting game.
I would honestly just...
Or TMNT.
I just want a
game.
Godzilla fighing game.
Oh, like
Again,
destroy all monsters? Yeah, me too.
destroy all monsters, save the Earth, and And you know what? Screw it. Have Platinum do it.
Yeah. What else would be?
Yeah, Platinum plus Godzilla would be really cool. You know what?
It would be out of this world.
I am so surprised that they bungled the TMNT game.
Yeah. What else?
Like, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't really that great.
I think Lego should do a Godzilla game. I mean, if we got Lego Jurassic World, why not Lego Godzilla?
Because Toho.
Yeah.
You know what? I would love to see a Lego Power Rangers game.
Ooh.
Oh.
But wait, aren't they owned by Hasbro now, Power Rangers?
Yeah.
Too bad there's no Lego Transformers.
How would that work?
Yeah, that would be cool, though.
Legos, you can build them to have moving parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I still haven't forgiven Lego for not making a Bionicle animated series.
Yeah, unfortunately, that series kind of died, and from what I hear, that series has an insane amount of lore.
Yes.
Like it-
yes, it does.
Like,
You're
even
talking-
compared to
you're
comic
talking to-
books, it has
You're talking
insane
to a
amount
fan
of
who
lore.
collected all the sets from 2001 to 2008. And I can tell you shit.
You know who needs a good game is Aquaman. I mean, yeah, I know he had that one game John Tron reviewed, but imagine like a whole like underwater free roaming type of game.
I don't think that would work for Aquaman. I don't think Aquaman
Well,
is...
because here's the thing: swimming is basically the same as flying.
Yeah.
True.
Doctor Strange would be a good game too.
Aquaman uses his telepathic powers to call his friends from the deep.
The final boss has to be Cthulhu.
Oh.
That'd be great.
Yeah. I think we need another TMNT fighting game, kind of like a Tournament Fighter.
Yeah, because now there's a lot more material you can pull from.
Yeah, isn't the contract with Marvel and Capcom done, or do they refuse to make another game because Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was not that good?
It was not that good because Marvel was being very petty.
Yeah,
And they rushed it.
yeah, and hopefully
Like not even counting Marvel's pettiness, the game was just plain rushed and very low quality.
If they don't ever pick up Marvel again for a versus Capcom, here's my pitch. Shonen Jump versus Capcom.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And if they do Shonen Jump versus Capcom, who would Marvel go up against? DC? Yeah, like basically have Marvel go against DC and have the playstyle be like Injustice.
You know what? I would love to see Shonen Jump versus Marvel. I mean, come on.
Ooh, yeah. Like,
I don't know.
who would the JoJo characters go up against from Marvel?
I still can imagine
I
Mr.
think Jotaro could hold his own against Strange for a moment.
I wouldn't mind seeing Mr. Fantastic fight Monkey D. Luffy.
Yeah, that would be good. Who would
Luffy
Goku
would start it.
go up against? Hulk or Thor?
Thor.
Yeah.
Goku would go up against Thor.
Who would Hulk
Oh God.
go up against?
I have this great idea for an
Hulk
image.
would go up against the villain from Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yu Yu Hakusho?
Oh yeah.
I've never seen that
Toru dude, the muscular dude, or later season.
The
no,
muscular
no,
dude
no,
with the
no.
sunglasses.
No.
Yeah, I know that
Hulk
dude.
versus Broly.
Mark, I just had this great.
No, you're only limited to 5 Dragon Ball characters.
Oh man.
I just had this great image
and
in my
you know
head.
exactly who those 5
Yeah,
characters
it's gonna
are.
be Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Trunks, and Gohan.
No,
I
they
was
kind
gonna
of
say
either Frieza or Cell.
Yeah, it's gonna be free. I had this great image in my head: Thor and Goku in Valhalla,
Ooh.
Oh,
just pigging out.
Yeah.
yes. Yes. But who would
But who would play a children's card game? Oh, Tony versus Seto Kaiba. The smack talk would be glorious.
Who would Cap go against?
I know you're gonna hate this, but Naruto.
Really?
It'd be a decent fist fight.
All right. Did we talk about all we needed to talk about?
I think we're.
Or no, Cap versus Deku.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say All Might, but I think All Might's way too OP for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Deku's a good pick to go up against Cap.
Or
Yeah.
Spider-Man versus Deku.
Yeah.
Or Spider-Man.
Who would Dio go up against?
Here's an interesting thing. In regards to Dio, the stages will have to have day and night settings.
Oh.
Because Dio is a vampire. He cannot be out in the daylight.
Yeah.
So if anyone picks Dio, the stages are automatically nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
Unless if it's inside a palace or something.
Yeah. All right, so did we talk about what we needed to talk about?
Yeah, especially considering how off track we got at the end.
Yeah, we're pretty much wrapped up.
Wait, Jersey, can you hear us?
What's going on?
Jersey, we're stuck in the Shadow Realm.
What? What?
Sean is here.
Oh God.
He's talking about his dumb fanfics.
Oh,
Horrible.
Lord.
He's making me edit them all.
Oh Lord, no.
He still hasn't paid me back.
Anthony just ditched us. He's out in the afterlife. Oh, we're stuck with Sean. You gotta get us out of here, man.
No, Anthony said I'd rather just go to hell.
Nah, actually it's quite peaceful. Really.
Jersey, what are you doing here?
I don't know.
Have you been talking to yourself the whole time?
I guess.
Jersey, they're gone.
What? Oh Lord. Then I'll just have to get them back.
Okay, out there in Marveland, face front, this is Stan Lee speaking. You've probably never heard a record like this before because no one would be nutty enough to make one with a bunch of offbeat artists, so anything is liable to happen.
Hey, who made you a disc jockey, Lee?
Well, Jolly Jack Kirby, say a few words to the fans, Jackson.
Okay, a few words.
Look, pal, I'll take care of the humor around here.
You've been using the same gags over and over for years.
Well, you can't accuse me of being fickle, can you? By the way, Jack, the readers have been complaining about Sue's hairdo again.
What am I supposed to do? Be a hairdresser? Next time I'll draw her bald-headed.
Boy, I'm glad we caught you when you were in a good mood.